Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Liam Hargrove was standing at the kitchen window, coffee cup in hand, when the shiny black BMW X5 stopped in front of their room. He watched as the man in the car honked softly while his eyes were fixed on the front door of their house. Liam turned slowly to see Vanessa standing in the foyer, checking her makeup one last time in the mirror. She was particularly radiant today, wearing that navy blue dress. Liam remembered it as a gift from him on their 5th wedding anniversary. "Honey, it's Dominic," Vanessa said briskly, as if it was just a normal work pickup and drop-off. "Please greet him and get him a cup of coffee. I'm going to that marketing summit, and when I get back, we'll celebrate." There was a subtle tension in her voice, but her expression was unusually confident. Liam watched her silently, the expression on his face hard to decipher. That expression had become his mask over the past 7 months, ever since he'd first noticed the text message from that unfamiliar number. "Sure," he replied calmly, not a ripple in his voice. Vanessa came over and kissed him lightly on the cheek, a whiff of expensive perfume hitting her. It's not the one she usually uses, Liam thought. He knew every one of his wife's perfumes as he knew every chemical in the lab. "Don't wait for me for dinner. It might be late," she added, then walked towards the door. Liam waited until the door closed before walking slowly toward the basement. There, a large plastic bucket labeled experimental sample, pest repellent, test in progress, waits quietly. It's a compound he's been carefully preparing for the past 3 weeks, and as an environmentally friendly chemical engineer, he's made sure it's harmless to health, but the smell is memorable enough. It consists primarily of sulfides, butyric acid, and several other compounds that produce an extremely unpleasant odor that is difficult to remove. He picked up the bucket and walked to the front door. Through the window, he could see Vanessa chatting with Dominic as the two stood beside the car, smiling broadly. They didn't immediately get in their car and leave, and seemed to be enjoying the brief moment of intimacy. Liam's cell phone vibrated in his pocket, a signal for the preset video equipment to kick in. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open toward the valuable BMW. 7 years ago, when Liam was presenting his eco-friendly pest control technology at a university research fair, Vanessa, a graduate student in marketing, came forward to inquire about his project. There was a genuine curiosity and warmth shining in her eyes then, and it sent a heartbeat through Liam, who was used to burying himself in the lab. "So you're basically saving the world, only no one knows it?" She asked this at the time, a charming smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I'm just trying to find ways to solve common problems without harming the environment," he replied, caught up in her enthusiasm. In the 3 months following that chance encounter, they went on 27 dates. Liam always remembered the exact number. Vanessa loves his honesty and focus, while he is drawn to her energy and openness to the world. She taught him how to interact with people more confidently, and he took her to explore the wonderful world of science. Their wedding was simple and cozy, held in a small church outside of Boston. Vanessa is wearing an ivory wedding dress, and Liam almost chokes when he sees her walking towards him. At that moment, he was sure it was eternity. The first 3 years of their marriage were their happiest. Liam found the perfect job at an environmental technology company, while Vanessa started her marketing career at a local advertising agency. They bought a small house in the suburbs and spend weekends together gardening or exploring a nearby nature preserve. In the evenings, they'd talk about future plans in the hammock in the backyard, perhaps having a baby in a few years, maybe someday starting a small business that combined Liam's science knowledge with Vanessa's marketing skills. Subtle changes crept in at the start of the 4th year. Vanessa's career ambitions became stronger, and she began to complain about the limitations of local companies. "I need a bigger stage, Liam. I know I can do better." She says that a lot. At the same time, Liam's research program was gaining traction, and he had to spend more time in the lab. Their conversations began to get shorter, more about schedules than dreams. Intimate moments become scarce, and weekend activities turn into separate social or work endeavors. They still love each other, but that love is starting to become more like habit than passion. The turning point for change came last winter when Vanessa received a job offer from Horizon Media, a multinational advertising agency. "This is my chance, Liam," she excitedly announced. "Dominic, the regional director, interviewed me personally and said my creative mind is exactly what they need." Liam was happy for her, genuinely. He helped her prepare for the interview and celebrated together after she was offered this marketing manager position. Vanessa looks renewed and her enthusiasm seems to have returned, which is comforting to Liam, although he senses that her excitement seems to have more to do with work than their relationship. Dominic is an extraordinary leader. She began to mention her new boss frequently. He has so many contacts in the industry, and his ideas are always ahead of the trends. At first, Liam didn't think much of it. It's normal for wives on the rise in their careers to express admiration for their visionary bosses. He's busy with his own research project, a new technology capable of repelling pests without the use of harmful chemicals that could revolutionize agricultural practices. When he gets home at night, he listens to Vanessa talk about her new project and team dynamics, sincerely happy for her success. However, for months ago, subtle changes began to manifest themselves. Vanessa's working hours became longer and the number of emergency meetings on weekends suddenly increased. She began to pay more attention to her appearance, buying new clothes and makeup and trying new hairstyles. Her cell phone is always with her and is protected with a new password. Initially, Liam thought all of this had to do with her new work environment. She needed to maintain a certain image at a high-end advertising agency. Until that Thursday night, when Vanessa went to take a shower and her cell phone lit up on the coffee table in the living room. Liam didn't want to look at it, but the message preview flashing on the screen caught his attention. Thinking of you. The conference room is still lingering in my mind. Same time tomorrow? D. In that moment, some sort of icy feeling swept through Liam's entire body. He didn't touch the phone, just sat there and felt the world crumble around him. He remembered the recent lunchtime meetings Vanessa had mentioned, the sudden business trips, the dinners with the team. All the pieces began to fit together, forming a picture he didn't want to recognize. Over the next few weeks, Liam began to gather evidence, but in a calm and systematic way, as he does with every scientific experiment. He notices hotel purchases on shared credit card bills, supposedly meetings with clients. He sees Vanessa's social media activity diminish, but occasionally shows up in photos of Dominic's corporate events, where the two are standing too close together, and he notices a change in her voice when she mentions Dominic. The most conclusive evidence came 3 weeks ago. Vanessa says she's attending a weekend marketing seminar in New York. Liam doesn't suspect anything until he receives a text message from a colleague at work mentioning that he saw Vanessa having dinner with a man at a restaurant in downtown Boston and that the two appeared to be quite intimate. The coworker didn't know who the man was, but described him as older, expensively dressed, and seemingly confident. That weekend, Liam drove to their joint bank and reviewed the details of the joint account. He discovered multiple recent purchases by Vanessa at a local fancy hotel that were never mentioned. Through legal channels, he had also confirmed that the so-called New York seminars did not exist. When Vanessa came home that night with a gift from New York and an energetic story about the seminar, Liam just smiled and accepted it, while his heart ached. He wasn't one for conflict, but he was by no means a coward either. He needed time to think and a plan. "What are you gawking at, honey?" Vanessa's voice snapped Liam back to reality. "I was just saying Dominic came to pick me up." Liam blinked and returned to the present. "Of course, I'll entertain him right away." He walked towards the kitchen and took a mug out of the cupboard and slowly poured in the coffee. Through the window, he could see Vanessa walking towards the black BMW. Dominic standing beside it with the kind of confident smile that Liam had seen countless times in social media photos. He was nearly 10 years older than Liam, well kept in shape, wearing a tailored suit and a valuable watch on his wrist. Liam watched as they embraced briefly, more intimately than a normal coworker should touch. He noticed the way Dominic's hand lingered around Vanessa's waist and the way she tilted her head slightly to smile at him. These small gestures have turned into piercing signals over the past few months, and Liam is now able to interpret them accurately. He put down his coffee cup and turned toward the basement. It's Saturday, and Vanessa claims to be going to a marketing summit. But Liam has checked, and there is no such event this weekend at all. Last night, he accidentally overheard a phone call from Vanessa and Dominic and learned that they were planning a weekend trip to a remote cabin on the Maine coast. It's the boldest move they've made in recent memory, and it's the moment Liam has been waiting for. In the basement, the big plastic bucket awaited him. It's not filled with rat poison in the traditional sense. As an environmental scientist, Liam has a strict ethical stance on harmful chemicals. It's a special blend he developed using his expertise, with ingredients that include sulfur compounds, butyric acid, and several natural extracts. It causes no permanent damage, but produces an extremely unpleasant odor that penetrates fabrics and skin, is difficult to remove, and takes weeks to fully dissipate. He picked up the bucket and walked sedately to the front door. In his pocket, he confirms that his cell phone is recording while checking that another hidden camera, pre-mounted next to the driveway, is also working. He has labeled the plastic bucket, "Experimental sample, no touching," so that if anyone asks, he can explain that it was just an accident at work. Liam's heartbeat was surprisingly steady as he pushed open the front door. 7 years of marriage were about to end this way, but instead of sadness, he felt a strange calm. He saw Vanessa and Dominic standing by the car, laughing and talking, apparently not noticing his presence. "I'm terribly sorry to interrupt." Liam's voice made them all turn their heads at the same time. "I think you forgot the coffee." Dominic flashed his standard business smile and extended his hand. "You must be Liam. It's nice to finally meet you. Vanessa always talks about you." Instead of responding to the outstretched hand, Liam walked straight to the BMW. "Beautiful car," he commented. "German craftsmanship is always impressive." Dominic looks a little confused, but quickly regains his confident expression. "Thanks, yes, I'm quite pleased with it." "Liam, honey, we really should get going," Vanessa interjected, a note of nervousness in her voice. "The summit starts at 9, and we don't want to be late." "Won't keep you long, of course," Liam replied, his voice surprisingly calm. "Just wanted to show Dominic the results of my recent research. As a scientist, I'm always happy to share knowledge." He began to slowly unscrew the lid of the plastic bucket. Vanessa frowned. "Honey, this isn't a good time to talk about work." "It'll only take a minute," Liam assured. "Dominic might be interested. It's a new, environmentally friendly method of pest control." When the lid was fully open, a faint but unpleasant odor began to fill the air. Dominic kept his smile politely, but clearly wanted to end this conversation as quickly as possible. "Maybe some other time, Liam. We do seem to be in a bit of a hurry." "You know," Liam continued, his voice still calm, "I've recently discovered that we have a particularly nasty pest problem in our house. They sneak into places where they don't belong and destroy otherwise healthy environments." Vanessa's expression changed from confusion to alarm. "Liam, what are you talking about?" "Pest control is about protecting and restoring the balance," Liam said, suddenly splashing the contents of the bucket onto the BMW's hood and windshield, splashing some of the liquid onto Dominic's suit and face, just like that. In an instant, everything was thrown into chaos. An indescribable stench immediately filled the air, and Dominic backed away screaming in horror, trying to wipe the liquid from his face. Vanessa stood in shock, her mouth open but unable to make a sound. "Are you crazy?" Dominic finally growled, his face contorted with rage and horror. "What is this thing?" "It's just a special mixture," Liam calmly explains while making sure his cell phone is recording everything. "Harmless, but the smell will last for weeks. I'm sorry it messed up your suit. That looks like an Armani custom, doesn't it?" "I'm calling the police," Dominic threatened, continuing to wipe himself in vain. "This is vandalism." "Call the police?" Liam smiled. "Be my guest. I'd be happy to explain to the police why my wife claimed to be going to a non-existent marketing summit, when in fact plans were made to travel to a beach house in Maine with her boss. I have all the evidence, hotel receipts, text message logs, eyewitness testimony. I'm sure the police and Horizon Media's Human Resources Department will be very interested in this." Vanessa paled. "Liam, it's not what you think. Not what I thought." Liam finally lets his emotions show, his voice quivering slightly. "Not the way I've been replaying it in my mind over and over again for the last 7 months? Not the way you used weekends for business trips and meetings to lie to me? Please tell me, Vanessa, what part of this isn't what I think it is?" Neighbors on the street began to notice the altercation, and a few stopped to watch. Dominic looks both furious and embarrassed that his fancy suit and perfect haircut have been ruined by Liam's concoction, and the smell is becoming increasingly unbearable. "Look, we can talk about this like adults." Dominic tried to take control of the situation, authority in his voice. "This public behavior is not doing anyone any good. Like adults." Liam asked rhetorically. Adults will respect the boundaries of marriage. Adults take responsibility for their own behavior. You two acted like candy-stealing kids and thought no one would notice. Vanessa finally found her voice. Liam, please, can we go back inside and talk? Don't be. There's nothing more to talk about, Liam replied, his voice calming down. My bags are packed. I'll be staying at a friend's house while my attorney works on the divorce papers. You can stay in the house until everything is settled. He turned to Dominic. As for you, I think your car needs a thorough cleaning. I have to warn you, though, the odor will seep into the leather and fabric and may require replacement of the upholstery. What a shame. Dominic glared at him angrily. You'll pay for this, Hargrove. I know the best lawyers in the city. Maybe, Liam shrugged. But until then, you'll have to explain why a regional director would have an inappropriate relationship with a direct subordinate. I believe Horizon Media has a strict policy on this. Your office, especially that conference room, might need a thorough inspection. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Liam, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, Liam said simply. And every lie, every betrayal, is a hurt. He turned toward the house, stopping to take one last look at the woebegone couple. Have a nice weekend in Maine. Remember to open the windows for ventilation. Walking back to the house, Liam felt a complex mixture of emotions: relief, sadness, anger, and a hint of satisfaction he didn't want to admit. He knew that the rest of his life would not be easy, that the divorce process would be painful, and that he needed to rebuild his life. But at the moment, he felt he had reclaimed something that had been stolen from him: dignity and perhaps control. In the living room, he picked up his pre-packed suitcase and briefcase with important documents. Through the window, he could see Dominic and Vanessa still standing by the car, arguing about something, both visibly upset. Several neighbors remained watching, some even taking out their cell phones to film. This farce will soon spread throughout the neighborhood, then Vanessa's circle of friends, and possibly eventually to Horizon Media. Instead of feeling the expected joy of victory, Liam felt only a heavy sense of certainty. Once something is broken, it can never be fully repaired. The trust between him and Vanessa has been irrevocably tarnished like the destroyed BMW. As he leaves the house and walks to his car parked on the corner, he sees Dominic finally give up trying to save the suit and angrily get into the car. Vanessa is still standing on the sidewalk, looking at Liam with a mixture of shock and sadness on her face. Their eyes met in the air, and 7 years of memories flashed by in that moment: her smile on their first date, the way she walked toward him on their wedding day, the night they spent planning their future in the hammock in the backyard. Then it was all covered by the lies and betrayals of recent months. Liam just nodded softly and got in the car. As he started the engine and drove away from what had once been his home, Vanessa's silhouette in the rearview mirror grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared from view entirely. The first chapter was over, and no matter what happened next, he knew he'd made a choice he couldn't take back. Like the chemistry in his work, some changes, once started, cannot be reversed. Vanessa stood on the sidewalk and watched Liam's car disappear around the corner, feeling the world crumble around her. Her perfect plan, her carefully constructed double life, was completely destroyed in a matter of minutes. Neighbors on the street whispered, and some even pointed unabashedly. Her cell phone vibrated with a text from Dominic. Get in the car, quick. It can't stay here. She looked over at the BMW, Dominic sitting in the driver's seat with a somber expression. Liam's mixture on the car began to dry out in the sun, leaving unsightly marks, while the odor became stronger. Slowly, as if sleepwalking, Vanessa made her way to the car, careful to avoid touching any of the contaminated surfaces. When she got into the passenger side, Dominic started the car without even looking at her. It's a complete disaster, he snapped. You said he wouldn't find out. You said he was too busy working to even notice. I didn't know he'd found out. Vanessa defended weakly, tears starting to well up in her eyes. I was careful. Obviously not careful enough. Dominic jerked the steering wheel, and the car made a sharp turn out of the neighborhood. Do you have any idea what this will do to my reputation? If this gets out to the company, my career is over. Vanessa felt a wave of nausea. The romantic weekend she was looking forward to turns into a nightmare, and all Dominic cares about is apparently his reputation and career. She remembered the look in Liam's eyes, not anger, but a deep sense of disappointment and betrayal. That look broke her heart more than any accusation. What do we do? She asked softly. We? Dominic sneered. There is no we anymore, Vanessa. It's all too much. I need to deal with my own problems, and so do you. His words hit her like a hammer. For the past 7 months, Dominic has been promising her a future when the time is right. They'll start a new life together, away from Boston, maybe in New York or Los Angeles, where Vanessa can realize her full potential. Now, in the face of the first real crisis, those promises dissipate like smoke. You can't just abandon me, she said, her voice shaking with shock. We had a deal. That was before your husband poured this disgusting stuff on me and threatened to ruin my career. Dominic interrupted her. For God's sake, Vanessa, wake up. This is not a romantic movie. I have my own life, my own reputation to uphold. The car pulled up in front of an express hotel, far from the upscale resort they had planned. Dominic turned off the engine and took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Look, I need to deal with this. My suit is ruined and the car needs a thorough cleaning and possibly an interior replacement. I have to figure out how to deal with a possible corporate investigation. He finally looked at her, no longer having that softness in his eyes that he used to have. I suggest you think about how to deal with your own mess as well. Vanessa felt a chill run down her spine. This man she had risked her life for and betrayed her marriage for, showed such a different face in the face of adversity. If Liam does contact the company, Vanessa began to say. That's what I'm talking about. Dominic interrupted her. Respective messes. I'll deny everything and say it's just a wild accusation from a rejected employee. As for you, I'm sorry, but our personal relationship must end. In public matters, we must maintain a strictly professional relationship if you still want to keep your job. He paused for a moment, as if considering something, and then added, Of course, given the current situation, perhaps the best option would be for you to leave voluntarily. It's good for both of us. Vanessa felt a cramp in her stomach. In just 1 hour, she lost her husband, her lover, and now she may not even be able to keep her job. She'd always thought she was in control of the situation, and now she realized she was only fooling herself. I need some time to think, she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. Sure, Dominic nodded, already thinking about the next step. I need to get a new suit and find a place to clean the car. You can go ahead and take a cab back, or stay here, whatever you want. The main program was apparently canceled. He handed her a hotel room card as if it were a handout. The room is paid for 2 nights. If you need to calm down, you can stay here. Vanessa mechanically took the room card and watched as Dominic got out of the car and walked towards the hotel front desk, probably to inquire about the nearby shopping center. She sat alone in her car, smelling the sickening odor, a perfect metaphor for the state of her life right now. She pulled out her cell phone and swiped the screen to find someone she could call for help. But she realizes that she has alienated most of her friends over the past few months in order to maintain her secret relationship with Dominic. Her family is in Chicago, and she's ashamed to admit the failure of her marriage to them. On the screen, the log of recent calls clearly showed her choices. Dominic's name took up most of them. Liam's name appeared rarely. She taps into a text conversation with Liam, the last one from yesterday, where she tells him she's attending a marketing summit that doesn't exist. She began to type, Liam, I'm so sorry. Please let me explain. And then deleted. No explanation can make up for what she's done. Vanessa finally allows herself to break down completely. And in the ruined limousine, she lets out a sob for everything she's lost. Her husband's trust, the love she thought she'd found, her career prospects, and even her self-respect. And all of this is the result of her own choices. Liam drove the car with no specific destination in mind, just a need to move, a need for distance. The streets of Boston blurred into a blur around him, and his thoughts were unusually clear. The emotions of the past few months, confusion, doubt, betrayal, anger, were now transformed into a strange calm. He eventually stops at the Charles River, which is where he and Vanessa used to go on their dates. The cold air stung his cheeks as he stepped out of the car, but it felt good, real, sobering. He took out his cell phone and dialed the only number he could think of. Hey Jason, it's me, Liam said when his best friend picked up the phone. I need to stay for a couple days for now. Sure, bro, what happened? Jason's voice was full of concern. I just dumped a bucket of chemical mixture on my wife's lover's car, Liam replied calmly, as if discussing the weather. I think my marriage is over. After a brief silence on the other end of the line, Jason responded softly, I'll send you the address right away. Half an hour later, Liam was sitting in Jason's apartment, the beer in front of him barely moving. He has just briefly explained the situation, omitting most of the details. Jason, an IT security expert, just listened quietly, without judgment or needless comfort. Are you sure that's enough evidence? Jason concluded by asking if professional habits had led him to focus on the most practical issues. Enough, Liam nodded. Credit card records, non-existent business trips, a couple of eyewitnesses. The most important thing is today's video. I clearly asked her about the so-called marketing summit, and the neighbors who were there can testify that it was a lie. What about legally? The stuff you dumped on his car. Harmless, Liam confirmed, just smells bad. I can provide a complete list of ingredients, all of which are legal substances. It's minor property damage at best. Jason nodded and then asked the hardest question of all. How do you feel? Really feel? Liam was silent for a long time. Outside the window, the lights of Boston begin to twinkle as night falls. Hollow, he eventually replied, as if someone had dug something out of me internally. But at the same time, there is also a sense of relief. No more guessing, no more wondering. How does revenge feel? Jason asked softly. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be, Liam admits, but I have no regrets. They all need to face the consequences. Jason nodded without saying anything more. The two men just sat quietly, letting reality slowly sink in. The next morning, Liam woke up with a dozen missed calls and messages on his cell phone. Most were from Vanessa, but there were a few from unrecognized numbers. Most notable was an email from Horizon Media's Human Resources Department asking him to contact them as soon as possible to discuss a sensitive issue. It seemed things were moving faster than he had expected. He picked up his cell phone and began calling back the first number, his attorney, Frank Morelli. Liam, Frank said with professional calm in his voice, I just got your message. Can you tell me what happened? Liam briefly explained the situation, including the evidence he had gathered and the events of yesterday. So you have conclusive evidence of infidelity, Frank concludes, but also acknowledge some damage to third-party property. Yes, Liam admitted, but that mixture is completely harmless. It just smells bad. Well, Frank thought for a moment. The evidence of infidelity works in your favor from a divorce standpoint. Massachusetts is a no-fault state, but judges will still consider infidelity, especially when it comes to property division. As for your behavior, if Mr. Reeves decides to sue for damages, we can handle it, but be prepared. I understand, Liam replied, and I accept any consequences. Another thing, Frank added, is the corporate issue you mentioned. If Mr. Reeves did violate company policy by having a relationship with a subordinate, this could raise broader legal issues. Would you like to speak with Horizon Media's HR department? Liam considered for a moment. His goal isn't to ruin Vanessa's career, just to make her and Dominic face the consequences of their actions. But on the other hand, if the company has a policy prohibiting such relationships, it's not his fault. I'll talk to them, he finally decided, but I'll only give the facts and won't exaggerate anything. After hanging up, Liam checked for other messages. Vanessa's text messages span a wide range of emotions from anger to pleading to self-loathing. How could you do that? Are you crazy? Liam, please, we need to talk. I'm sorry for hurting you. Please give me a chance to explain. I'm home. It's empty here. Please tell me where you are. The last one was posted this morning. Dominic said the company might fire me. I don't know what to do. Please call back. Liam felt a wave of mixed emotions. Despite the hurt and anger, he still cares about Vanessa. A 7-year marriage doesn't disappear completely because of the events of one day. But he also knew that something had irrevocably changed. He replied with a short message, I don't want to talk right now. Please contact me through Frank. Then he dialed the Horizon Media HR department. Vanessa sat at her family's dining room table, her coffee cup clutched in her hand, the liquid inside long since cooled. Last night, she came home from that express hotel to find the house empty and most of Liam's personal belongings gone. He was obviously well prepared for this day. Her cell phone lit up, showing Liam's reply. A short sentence that sends a clear message. He doesn't want to communicate with her directly, but wants to do so through a lawyer. This means that divorce proceedings may have already begun. Just then, She received an email on her work email address from Human Resources asking her to attend an urgent meeting this afternoon. The email did not provide a specific reason, but the wording was formal and serious. She knew it had something to do with the events of yesterday. Dominic hasn't contacted her since he left her at the hotel yesterday. She tried to text him, but got no reply. On social media, his account also seems to have remained unusually silent. Vanessa felt more alone than ever. For the past 7 months, she's been immersed in her relationship with Dominic, alienating most of her friends. She lied to her family about everything being fine and now can't suddenly admit the truth. And Liam, the only one who might understand her, is now the one she hurts the most. At 3 p.m., Vanessa walks into Horizon Media's conference room to find Eleanor, the head of human resources, and legal counsel already there waiting for her. The atmosphere in the room was serious and tense. "Vanessa, please sit down." Eleanor gestured to her, her voice more formal than usual. "We need to discuss some serious allegations." The next hour was one of the most agonizing moments of Vanessa's career. Eleanor detailed the allegations against her and Dominic, using her position to develop an inappropriate relationship, engaging in unprofessional behavior on company premises, and potentially violating multiple company policies. "We have spoken to Mr. Reeves," Eleanor said, "and he has denied most of the allegations, claiming it was a misunderstanding. But we have reason to believe there was misconduct." Vanessa felt a wave of nausea. Dominic did as he said and chose to deny it all, putting her in an awkward position. "We want you to be honest and tell us what's going on," the legal counselor said gently but firmly. "This is about your future with the company." Vanessa closed her eyes. She could follow Dominic's example and deny everything, but that would mean she would be the only scapegoat. Or she could admit the truth, but that could mean the immediate loss of her job. In the end, instincts cultivated through years of marketing work led her to choose the middle ground. "I admit to having an intimate relationship with Dominic, but it was a completely consensual and personal choice. We strive to keep it separate from our work and have not taken advantage of our position or acted inappropriately on company premises." Eleanor and the legal counselor exchanged a look. "Vanessa, we've received some evidence," Eleanor said softly, "including information from your husband and testimony from other employees that you did engage in inappropriate behavior on company premises, specifically the conference room." Vanessa felt the blood recede from her face. She remembered that lunch break impulse to not stop Dominic when he locked the conference room door. She had thought no one would know, but apparently someone had seen it or guessed it. "Given the circumstances," Eleanor continued, "the company has decided to suspend you for further investigation. During this time, you will receive paid vacation. Once the investigation is complete, we will make a final decision." Vanessa nodded mechanically. That was better than summary dismissal, but she knew that further investigation could be a euphemism for delaying a final decision. Companies need time to assess the legal risks and PR implications. "Where's Dominic?" She couldn't help but ask. Eleanor's expression became more serious. "This is a confidential personnel matter, and I cannot discuss Mr. Reeves' situation. But I can tell you that the company takes relationships between senior executives and subordinates seriously. In other words, Dominic is in trouble too." This gives Vanessa a faint glimmer of comfort, though she also feels a sense of betrayal. Not just that she has betrayed Liam, but that Dominic has betrayed her, choosing to defend himself in the face of adversity. As she leaves the office, Vanessa notices the stares from her coworkers. Apparently, yesterday's incident has become a hot topic for office gossip. She tried to keep her head as high as she could, but inside she was falling apart. She was driving home and got a call from her parents on the way. "Honey," the mother's voice was full of worry, "we just got a call from Liam. He said you guys had some problems, and he was sorry to tell us in this way." "What happened?" Vanessa grips the steering wheel and suddenly realizes that Liam has contacted her family. Instead of telling the truth about her cheating, he chose a more honorable way to explain their separation. Even in this situation, he was still protecting her dignity. The realization brought tears to her eyes. "Mom," she choked out, "I've made a terrible mistake." Liam sits in his lawyer's office and listens to Frank explain the details of the divorce process. The past week has been a dreamlike one, filled with legal meetings, corporate investigations, and financial planning. "So, based on the evidence you've provided," Frank concluded, "we have a strong position." While Massachusetts is a no-fault state, judges will consider infidelity, especially when it comes to property division and possible alimony. Liam nodded, absent-mindedly twirling the pen in his hand. The legal process seems so cold and incapable of capturing the emotional complexity of a crumbling marriage. "Where's the house?" he asked. "You own it jointly," Frank explained. "And given the circumstances, you may be entitled to a larger share. But if you want, you can also let Vanessa keep the house as part of the overall property division." Liam considered for a moment. That house is full of memories, some fond, some now excruciating. "She can keep it," he finally decided. "I don't want to go back." Frank nods and makes a note of that. About Horizon Media, he changed the subject. "I've gotten word that their internal investigation is coming to a close." "How did it turn out?" Liam asked, trying to keep his tone calm. "It's my understanding that Mr. Reeves has been asked to resign," Frank said. "And as for your wife, sorry, Vanessa, she's currently suspended, and a final decision has not yet been made, but it looks like she may be out of a job as well." Liam felt a wave of inner turmoil. His plan for revenge succeeded and even exceeded expectations. Dominic loses his job and reputation, and Vanessa's career is in crisis. But that victory didn't taste sweet. "Is this what I want?" he asked himself in a low voice, almost forgetting that Frank was still there. Frank, as an experienced divorce attorney, understands the conflicting feelings. "Liam," he said mildly, "there are no real winners in these cases. You have a right to feel angry and betrayed and to seek justice. But ultimately, you need to look out for your own happiness. Revenge can provide fleeting satisfaction, but it won't bring long-term peace." Liam looked up at Frank and for the first time really considered the question. "So what do I do?" "Go through the legal process," advises Frank, "and protect your rights. But at the same time, consider how to move forward. What's your next step? New job? New home? A new beginning?" These questions echoed in Liam's mind. For the past few months, his entire focus had been on gathering evidence and planning his revenge, with little thought given to his life afterward. After leaving the lawyer's office, Liam decided to walk back to Jason's apartment. It was a sunny but slightly cooler day in Boston in the fall, and fallen leaves rustled on the sidewalk. As he walked past a coffee shop, he stopped and gazed at a couple inside. They were talking, occasionally laughing, and completely immersed in each other's world. It was what he and Vanessa had had, and what he thought he would never lose. The vibration of his cell phone interrupted his thoughts. It was an email from his company reminding him of a project meeting next week. Work. He almost forgot that normal life went on. His environmental pest control research is still ongoing, and there are teams that rely on his leadership. The reminder made him realize that even though the marriage was over, other parts of his life still needed his attention. Maybe Frank is right, and it's time to think about the next step. Back at the apartment, Liam finds an envelope slipped into the doorway. He opens it and reads it, and inside is Vanessa's handwriting. "Liam, I know you don't want to communicate with me directly, and I respect your decision. I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. There's no excuse, no reason that can explain the damage I've done to you. I don't ask for forgiveness. I just want you to know that I recognize my mistake. The company has asked me to resign. My parents suggested I move back to Chicago. If you agree, I'll give up the house and take only my personal belongings. The memories of the house are too painful for me. Anyway, good luck. You deserve true happiness. Vanessa." Liam sat on the couch and read the letter over and over again. He felt a strange relief, not because Vanessa had suffered retribution, but because she had admitted her mistake and chosen to be honest. It's better than continuing to lie or justify yourself. He pulled out his cell phone and considered whether or not to text her. Ultimately, he decided it would be more appropriate to communicate through his attorney. Their direct communication is over, and all that remains is the legal process and the pain of separation. That night, Liam wrote a list in his notebook. Next steps. The first item is finding a new place to live, followed by reviewing research progress, and then vacation. Maybe go fishing in Montana. He hesitated for a long time before writing down the last item. Consider counseling. He knew healing would take time, but for the first time, he felt that the future was no longer dark. There is pain, there is regret, but there is also possibility. 2 months later, Boston had a harsh winter. Liam stood at the window of his new apartment. watching the snowflakes slowly fall outside. The divorce process is almost complete, just waiting for the judge's final signature. Under the agreement, Vanessa gave up the house and most of the community property, taking only her personal belongings and a small portion of her financial assets. She has moved back to Chicago to start over with the help of her parents. They exchanged final messages through their lawyers. Dominic moved to the West Coast after his forced resignation in an attempt to restart his career, but the winds of the industry have affected his reputation. According to Vanessa, Dominic never contacted her again and completely cut off the relationship. Liam's life has also changed. He accepted a new position offered by the company to lead a research and development team focused on his environmentally friendly pest control technology. The program has made significant progress and has even attracted some venture capital attention. He also went on a fishing trip to Montana as planned, where the serenity helped him organize his thoughts. Most importantly, he started counseling. The weekly meetings help him deal with the complex emotions that come with betrayal and the conflicting feelings he has about his vengeful behavior. Revenge hasn't brought you the satisfaction you hoped for, his counselor noted at their last meeting. Why? Liam thought long and hard before answering. Because it can't fix what's already broken. It may bring a brief sense of justice, but it will not heal the wound. This realization made him begin to re-examine his behavior over the past few months. He did make Vanessa and Dominic pay for their behavior, but was the price too high? Should he also take some responsibility for his own vengeful behavior? This afternoon, he received an unexpected email. Vanessa asked if she could call, not to discuss the divorce, but just to say goodbye properly. The divorce is about to be finalized, and this could be their last chance to communicate. Liam stood at the window for a long time, pondering whether he should agree. Eventually, he replied with a short one. Okay. Tonight at 8. The phone rang at exactly 8 o'clock in the evening. Hi, Liam. Vanessa's voice came through the receiver, sounding both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Thanks for wanting to answer. It's okay, he replied, surprised at how calm he was. Are you okay? It's settling in, she says, with a job at a small marketing firm in Chicago. No previous salary or title, but I want to start over. That's good, Liam said sincerely. Despite everything, he didn't want her to live a miserable life. After a short silence, Vanessa took a deep breath. Liam, I know one phone call won't make up for my mistakes, but I need you to know how much I regret hurting you. It's not your fault, it never was. What was that about? Liam asked, a question that had been swirling around in his mind for a long time. We were happy once. At least I thought we were happy. Vanessa was silent for a moment. I don't know exactly when it started, she eventually replied. Maybe when we started focusing on our respective careers and drifted apart. I began to wonder if our marriage was enough, if it was what I really wanted. Dominic came along and gave me attention and stimulation and made me feel special. But that's all superficial, not real love. She paused and her voice became choked. The irony of it all is that after losing you, I realized how precious what we had was. True love is not about excitement or passion, but about respect, honesty, and commitment. I've failed all of this. Liam felt a tightening in his chest. He thought of the good times, the evenings they'd spent sitting around in the backyard, the weekends they'd spent planning the future together, even the mundane dinner times, just enjoying each other's company. I'm to blame, he admitted. I was too focused on my work to notice your changing needs. But Vanessa, betrayal is not the way to go. I know, she said softly. There are no excuses. I just wish. I hope you find happiness, Liam. True happiness. I hope you find happiness, too, he replied, surprised at the truth of the statement. They chatted for a few more minutes, mostly about recent events and calm goodbyes. No more accusations, no more painful memories, just one last conversation between two people who once loved each other but have gone their separate ways. After hanging up, Liam walked back to the window. Snow is still falling, covering the streets and buildings and creating a brand new landscape. Tomorrow, the city will look brand new under a blanket of snow. People will clear the roads and life goes on. He recalled the words of his counselor. Pain doesn't go away, but it becomes bearable with time. Your task is not to forget, but to learn to live with your memories while moving forward. Liam took a deep breath and felt a peace that had been missing for a long time. His revenge is complete, the price has been paid, and now it's time to let go. not for Vanessa, but for himself. He took out his cell phone, opened the memo, and added to the list of next steps: learn to forgive others and yourself. Outside the window, snowflakes continue to fall, covering the past and creating the possibility of new beginnings. When spring arrives, Vanessa stands on the balcony of her Chicago apartment and watches the pedestrians on the street. The divorce has been finalized, and she is officially back to being single. The new job was a low starting point, but it gave her the opportunity to rebuild her career. The therapist advised her to focus on the present moment instead of dwelling on past mistakes. Her cell phone vibrated, displaying a message from her father. "Does tonight's dinner still count?" Vanessa smiled and replied, "Sure, see you at 7." Since returning to Chicago, she has become closer to her parents. Instead of blaming her, they offered unconditional support to help her through her darkest times. She occasionally thought of Liam and wondered how he was doing. Through a mutual friend, she hears about a major breakthrough in his research program that could change the entire industry. She was happy for him, sincerely. Dominic is completely out of her life. The last contact was a brief email a few months ago, informing her that he had found a new job in Los Angeles and hoping all was well. No apologies, no explanations, just polite courtesy. That relationship seems so hollow now, in stark contrast to the deep connection she shared with Liam. During therapy, Vanessa began to understand the root causes of her behavior: a desire for approval, insecurity about her self-worth, and thrill-seeking. These are not excuses, they are issues that need to be dealt with if she wants a healthy relationship in the future. Sometimes, in her dreams, she would go back to that Saturday morning and see Liam standing in the driveway with that plastic bucket in his hand. In reality, that moment marked the collapse of her life. But in her dreams, she sometimes imagines a different ending. She admits the truth, asks for forgiveness, and together they seek help. But reality offers no such option. Some mistakes are too serious to simply fix. Her therapist often reminded her, "Accept that the past cannot be changed, but the future is in your hands." This spring, Vanessa began volunteering her time to help women going through relationship crises. Sharing her mistakes and lessons learned became a way for her to make amends for the past. She doesn't glorify her actions, but is honest about the cost of betrayal, the loss of love, career, and self-respect. Later today, she plans to attend a seminar on professional ethics. As a marketing professional, she wanted to rebuild her professional reputation, this time with integrity. Her new life is slowly taking shape, no longer the ambitious but morally ambiguous young woman, but a more mature and honest person. This transition comes with pain, but it also brings a new kind of peace. Vanessa took one last look out the window at the cityscape, then turned to get ready to go out the door. In front of the mirror, she saw a different version of herself, with a calmness in her eyes after the storm and softer lines on her face. The past cannot be changed, but the future remains open. This was the most important lesson she learned from her lost marriage. Every choice has consequences. True love requires honesty and respect, and there are no shortcuts. As she walks out of her apartment to greet a new day, Vanessa carries a quiet promise in her heart never to betray her trust or the trust of others again. It's a tough lesson, costly, but worth it in the end. A year later, in the fall, Liam stood at a podium at Boston's Center for Science, Technology, and Innovation, presenting his eco-friendly pest control technology to a group of investors and scientists. The technology has been patented, and several large agricultural companies are in talks to partner. Not only is this method effective in controlling pests, but it also completely avoids the environmental hazards of traditional chemical pesticides. He explains confidently, with the pride of years of research in his voice, "We can protect the crops and the ecosystem at the same time." The speech was followed by thunderous applause. Liam feels a deep sense of fulfillment, not only because of professional success, but also because he knows his work will have a positive impact. At the reception after the meeting, a woman approached him and introduced herself as a representative of the Environmental Defense Fund. "Your presentation was great," she said sincerely. "We are always looking for innovative solutions like this one." "Thank you," Liam responded with a smile, noting the intelligence and enthusiasm in her eyes. "I'd be happy to discuss potential collaborations in detail." They exchanged business cards and agreed to meet the following week. Walking out of the conference, Liam felt a long overdue excitement, not only about possible career opportunities, but also that joy of connecting with like-minded people. Back at his apartment, he checked his email and found an email from Jason with a link to a news article. "Dude, check this out." The link points to an article about Dominic Reeves. His new company in LA is under investigation for financial misconduct. The article refers to his controversial professional history, alluding to the Horizon Media incident. Liam closed the page without further reading. The past is the past, and Dominic's new problems don't concern him. Whether out of vengeance or justice, he no longer cared about the man's fate. He opened another email from a realtor confirming that the house they jointly owned had been successfully sold. According to the divorce agreement, the proceeds will be divided equally. Vanessa chose to stay out of the transaction process and instructed her attorney to handle everything. The last link to the house is also about to disappear. Liam felt a strange relief, as if he had closed the last page of a book. In the evening, he receives an unexpected phone call, Vanessa's mother calling to ask how he's doing. Since the divorce, she occasionally contacts him, and the two maintain a polite relationship. She was sorry for her daughter's behavior, but Liam never blamed her. "We've heard about the great success of your research," she said kindly, "and we're very proud of you, Liam." "Thanks, Jane," he replied sincerely. "How are you guys doing?" "We're all good." Vanessa, she got her feet wet in Chicago. She's now doing some counseling work and volunteering in some relationship crisis. She paused. "She's changed a lot, Liam." "Lesson learned." Liam nodded, even though she couldn't see. "I'm glad to hear that. I really hope she's all right." It wasn't just polite talk. He did want Vanessa to find peace and happiness. The fury of vengeance has long since been extinguished, leaving behind only a gentle nostalgia for the times we once shared and a blessing for the future. After hanging up the phone, Liam walked toward the balcony overlooking Boston at night. On that snowy night a year ago, he stood in the same spot, feeling his life fall apart. And now the pieces have reassembled to form a different, but equally valuable whole. He remembered what the counselor had said. Sometimes our greatest growth comes from our deepest hurts. Betrayal taught him the value of trust. Revenge taught him the importance of forgiveness. And loss taught him to appreciate the present. These lessons came painfully, but are now integrated into his core and part of his new self. Tomorrow, he will meet with a representative of that environmental foundation to discuss how his technology can help more people. The day after tomorrow, he was going to visit his parents. Next week, he plans to attend a scientist networking event. His schedule is filled with work, family, and new friends, and a balanced life is taking shape. The stars twinkle brightly in the night sky. Liam took a deep breath of the fall night air, then exhaled slowly. The past was gone. The future was waiting, and for the moment, he felt at peace. It's a difficult journey from betrayal to revenge to forgiveness and rebirth. But in the end, he learned the most important lesson of all. True love begins with honesty, continues with respect, and grows with trust. The lesson was costly, but will guide his future path. For Vanessa, he hoped she had learned the same lesson. Because in the complex arena of life, everyone has the opportunity to start over if they are willing to face the truth and take responsibility for their choices. The evening breeze brushed his cheeks with the coolness of fall and new possibilities. Liam smiles, ready to take on the challenges of tomorrow, no longer as a betrayed husband, but as a fuller, wiser man. The end of the story is not the sweetness of revenge, but the depth of understanding. Not the end of sorrow, but the beginning of wisdom. For those facing similar choices, it is a warning that the path of betrayal may seem tempting, but the price is far heavier than imagined. And for those who have experienced betrayal, it is a reminder that true victory lies not in retaliation, but in transcending the pain and rediscovering one's own worth and happiness. In the Boston night, Liam finally realizes that sometimes the best revenge is to live a better life. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.